Erika is about to speak out directly against Candace Owens. Loud, clear, and unfiltered. I knew her name would be mentioned, but I didn't expect things to go this deep. In this segment, we're diving into the so-called Egyptian plane theory that Candace discussed many times, and that countless people have broken down in detail. Now, Erika Kirk is finally addressing it hidden. Here's what's coming up. I'll show you both sides. What Candace said, and what Erika said. Even though they're talking about the same topic, their perspectives couldn't be more different. You're going to see exactly how. Then we'll circle back to some earlier comments Candace made about the Egyptian plane situation and turning point, because what you're about to witness might not be random at all. It might have been planned. After chatting with a close friend who pointed something out I completely missed, I started realizing that what's unfolding here might actually be intentional. I'll explain that in just a bit. But first, Erika Kirk. Everyone, now hold on a second. I have to pause here. Supposedly, this moment was meant to be Erika getting interviewed, right? But watch closely. It suddenly turns into the interviewer leading her straight into the exact topic they wanted. That's fascinating. Erika just looks at her and says, Egyptian planes. And the interviewer immediately rolls with it. If that had been a genuine surprise, wouldn't you expect the interviewer to ask, wait, what do you mean by Egyptian planes? If someone suddenly says, Egyptian planes, you'd expect a real interviewer to stop and ask pregnant for 90% of those trips. Mind you, I've never all those places they said I've traveled. I've never been. I mean, I've been, but I'm not within those dates that they've but, you even said you need to. Yeah. Booty, do I do on that one? Only because from a humor standpoint, I intentionally when I was pregnant hid, not because I was embarrassed, not because I didn't want anyone. Yes, we did keep it very private. Wait, what do you mean by that? Right. That's how a genuine conversation usually unfolds. But here Erika says it, and somehow Barry already knows exactly what's going on. That right there makes me think Candace might have been right when she said she'd heard from her sources that this whole thing was going to be surprisingly staged, like down to the last word prepared. And honestly, I don't even need Candace to tell me that. You can see it. Everything feels rehearsed. The answers, the questions, even the timing, both of them seem to know exactly where it's headed. This isn't a natural back and forth talk show moment. It feels like something completely different. Way too polished. Way too scripted. Anyway, let's keep rolling. Now, look, I'm literally in my editing setup right now. Not even in my usual recording gear. For those who follow Candace, I can already hear you asking, what on earth is Erika talking about? I get it. You're probably thinking, Candace never said Erika was on those planes. And you're right. She never said that. But the way Erika said, game on made it sound serious, like she was gearing up for a direct challenge. I had to pause and double-check everything myself just to be sure. After replaying what Candace actually said, I realized, no, that's not true. Candace didn't claim Erika was on any planes. But before we unpack that more, here's the twist. Candace already responded. Even though she's not airing a live show over the weekend, she still addressed it. She probably won't go live until Monday or maybe Tuesday, depending on her schedule, but she still had something to say. According to Candace, Erika's exact words were, you really think I'd be on an Egyptian plane when I'd rather be with my burger and chocolate shake? Now, that's a response no one saw coming. Erika completely sidestepped the question by pushing back against something no one even claimed. But it's because it was a moment very sacred. I was growing a human inside of me. My baby. The world that Charlie and I live in is very toxic at times. Yeah. And when you are growing a beautiful child in you, I don't want to be around it. I want to enjoy eating my In-N-Out burger and my hot fudge sundae. That's what I want to do. I'm pregnant and I have 9 months to own it. You really think I'm going to be on an Egyptian plane while I am wanting to be with my In-N-Out burger and my chocolate milkshake? No, I'm not. So, if you want to go through my flight log, go right ahead. It's very boring. You say I was here on this date. I have a photo in my phone to prove that I actually was in the hospital, because I was having contractions. So, nobody ever said Erika or Charlie had anything to do with those so-called Egyptian planes. And as for the other point, no, she wasn't expecting for the last 4 years. Now, let's be fair. Candace isn't a doctor, so she wouldn't actually know that detail either. But come on, it's 2025. People can believe what they want. Still, Erika's response of game on was definitely intense. It almost felt like she was gearing up to show proof for something that wasn't even said. At first, it looked like Erika might have been unprepared or misunderstood what was really going on. But the more you look, the more it starts to seem rehearsed. Like someone behind the scenes fed her the topic, the question, and even the response. It felt like she was just repeating what she'd been told to say, trying to stick to the script without realizing it didn't match the actual claim. Then Candace responded again, posting just below her earlier comment. She explained what the right kind of statement would have been. According to her, Erika could have simply said she didn't know anything about the planes, that she had no idea why those flights seemed to cross paths with cities where Charlie, or turning point faith events were happening. Candace even added that it could easily be a coincidence, but said she sent the info over to the proper authorities anyway, just in case it wasn't. No stone unturned, as she put it. Of course, that's the version Candace thinks Erika should have said, but it's clear Erika never would have gone that route. And honestly, that's where things start getting confusing, because when you compare the clips, the tone and meaning don't line up at all. To clear things up, Candace later shared exactly what she said about the Egyptian planes herself, so people could hear the full context. In that clip, she mentioned the overlaps, 73 total, 29 of them involving Charlie's travels. Charlie landed into Salt Lake City at 9:23 a.m. local time. I suspect that if he had instead landed into Provo, he would have recognized the blue Egyptian plane. Okay, it's not every day that you see an Egyptian military craft. It is now my well-informed opinion that he would have looked at that plane. He would have recognized the blue plane, and he would have instantly realized that something was amiss. And now I'm going to explain to you very carefully why. I suspect that it is highly likely that Charlie would have recognized that plane. Okay, tail number SUBND, the blue plane, and even noted that some of the connections stretched overseas. Once you hear that, it's hard to dismiss as simple coincidence. And she even joked that someone should run the odds through a data program to see how likely that really was. And apparently, the result was practically zero. That's the full version of what Candace said, and it's what she wanted Erika to understand. Meanwhile, Erika's reaction, denying involvement and bringing up unrelated points, just made the whole situation sound even more confusing. When you really listen to Erika's responses, it's clear she's leaning hard into emotion rather than facts. With this whole Egyptian plane topic, she laughs it off, brushes it aside, and then quickly shifts into emotional territory, talking about how she was expecting, how the world feels toxic, and how she just wanted peace. That instantly softens the audience. People, especially parents and partners, hear that and go, yeah, I understand that. Then she adds something super relatable, mentioning her favorite comfort meal, a burger and chocolate shake, and suddenly everyone connects with her. They think, oh, she's just like me. But here's the thing, none of that actually answers the question. It's emotional deflection, dressed up as honesty. Because in reality, there was never a real accusation about her being on any Egyptian planes. You know that, and I know that, but once that kind of narrative spreads, even if it's false, people start repeating it. Go ask anyone who follows that kind of news and you'll hear it. Wasn't Erika accused of flying on Egyptian planes? It's wild. And suddenly, that version of the story becomes the one people remember. That's exactly how misinformation takes root. Someone reacts emotionally, the audience sympathizes, and before long, the real question gets buried under feelings and distractions. That's why people get frustrated with what Candace and others are doing. They're challenging those emotional shields, and that makes some folks uncomfortable. A pregnant mommy sleuth who was locked into this investigation discovered something that me and my team had missed. I consider her obviously and all of you to be my decentralized intelligence agents. Anyway, she sent me a rather urgent email, and I'm obviously protecting her identity for 4 reasons that are clear, but I want you to know that this discovery is due entirely to her. She is the person that in this regard went max for Charlie when I missed something. Her email stated in effect that I was only partially right about the plane tracking Charlie. When hundreds of thousands of people start hearing new sides of a story, public perception starts to shift fast. At first, I honestly thought Erika was just repeating what she was told. Like she didn't really know the full picture, just following a script. Kind of like a host reading off a teleprompter without asking questions. Was just saying what's written. That's what it felt like at first, until I talked to my friend who gave me a totally different angle on it. I promised not to share his words exactly, but what he told me realized changed how I saw this whole thing. He told me they set Erika up on purpose to twist her words just enough so they could easily fact-check her later and make her look wrong. He said it's all about shaping the narrative so the public believes a simplified version of the truth. At first, I didn't buy that theory, but when I started digging deeper into the research myself, it started to make sense. When I searched Egyptian planes, guess what came up? Only Erika's version of events. That's it, everything else had been pushed down in the results. And that's not just coincidence, it's something we've seen before. Think back to the Marvel movie Black Panther. Before that blockbuster hit theaters, if you searched Black Panther, you'd get historical info about the original political movement from decades ago. But after the movie came out, the film completely buried those results. Now, the movie dominates every search, and you have to dig deep just to find anything else. That's exactly what's happening here. Erika's interviews, especially the ones featured on big legacy media platforms like Barry Weiss's Outlet, are now what the public sees first. Meanwhile, everything Candace had said or posted about the Egyptian plane theory keeps getting pushed further down the list. Unless you're searching directly on social media, especially on X, it's hard to find her original material anymore. That's when it hit me. My friend was right. That she had done an additional 15 hours of research, and was able to discern that the person the planes were actually tracking for years was Erika, not Charlie. But Erika was the one being tracked by these planes. And indeed, it turns out that she was correct. She discovered that between 2022 and September of 2025, both of those aircrafts, SUBTT, the yellow plane, and SUBND, the blue plane, showed 68 overlaps with Erika's documented locations. Okay, 68 overlaps. I have since been able to add, now, it's not random at all. The digital spotlight was shifted on purpose. It's clever. Honestly, Erika's side of the story becomes the one that sticks, while Candace's investigation fades into the background. Now, circling back to the theory itself, this is where it gets even more surprising. When Tucker Carlson sat down with Theo Von, he confirmed that he'd seen the same evidence for this theory and believed it was real. And remember, this is someone who's actually close to Erika. Someone who supports her, and who's even scheduled to appear at a Turning Point event this month. That connection makes this entire situation even more intense. This whole situation just keeps getting stranger. Tucker himself hasn't made any direct public comments about it, but in a recent interview with Elizabeth Lane, he revealed that he's actually been in regular contact with Erika. He even mentioned that they talk almost every morning, which means he's closely connected to what's been happening. Now, even Tucker admits that the plane situation seems to have been real, that Erika really was being followed. That's where things start to feel like a full-on mystery. So, why would Erika handle things this way? At first glance, it looks like she's just pushing Candace's information further down the line. But then you remember Candace had already said that Turning Point wanted to stop that story from spreading. Suddenly, Erika bringing it up in that strange way, asking Barry Weiss, "You want to talk about Egyptian planes?" And then giving a confusing answer starts to make sense. It created noise that buried the original story without ever actually refuting it. Now, when you search online, especially outside social media, what pops up first is Erika's version. The average person who isn't scrolling through X or watching independent sources ends up only hearing her side, not Candace's. It's almost like the original claims got lost in translation on purpose. 73 times that this overlapped. Okay, and 29 of those instances also happened to include Charlie. Charlie was also present, and that's what I was stumbling upon when I was looking into this. I was like, why is this plane where Charlie is? The ER flights were majority clustered within 5 states: Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, Delaware, and Utah. And it's a pattern that she believes is statistically not random. I am telling you this information has been completely verified. I am showing you this. That's why this whole thing feels so coordinated. They didn't silence the story outright. They replaced it with a version that redirects attention. So now what Candace revealed is buried under confusion and emotional moments, while Erika's interview dominates the narrative. Then when you look at Candace's next comments about the Egyptian planes, you can hear her frustration. She said they keep making jokes about it, brushing it off while she's trying to find real answers. But honestly, what can anyone find out at this point? Erika never directly addressed it, and Turning Point isn't talking either. It's hard not to wonder what was really going on with those flights. Was it coincidence or something more? We can't say for sure whether Erika or Charlie ever knew anything about it. And it wouldn't be fair to speculate, but it's strange. Every time Erika gets the chance to clear things up publicly, her response makes even less sense. That's why people are starting to realize this might be much deeper than it looks on the surface. What seems like one layer of confusion could actually be covering several more. The more you look, the more tangled it gets. And it's starting to feel like we've only just scratched the surface of what's really happening here. I truly believe this goes way deeper than most people think. much deeper. Before I even started following this story, I used to talk about the unseen side of things, the constant struggle between light and darkness, good and evil, and how those energies move through the world without us realizing it. There's more happening than meets the eye, and whether you notice it or not, we're all caught in that unseen clash in one way or another. And honestly, that's what makes this whole Egyptian plains situation so fascinating. When I was watching the clips and talking with my friend, something about it just felt bigger, like it wasn't just about a theory or an interview. It felt symbolic, like part of something much larger happening in the background. Now, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Candace mention recently that a certain person had just moved to Tennessee? I couldn't find clear info on it because once again, whenever you search those keywords, all you see are results tied to Erika Kirk and Barry Weiss. The term Egyptian plains has now become locked to them, completely shifting the focus away from Candace's version of events. But what really caught my attention is how that detail seemed to line up. She mentioned someone new, moving nearby, someone with a powerful position, and it clearly unsettled her. She didn't say this person did anything wrong or that they would, but the timing just seems strange. How is it that right after all this Egyptian and foreign talk starts swirling, suddenly someone connected at a high level ends up moving right into the same area? It's the kind of coincidence that makes you stop and think. The whole thing has this strange, eerie energy, like pieces of a much bigger puzzle falling into place where we least expect them. And the more you dig, the more you realize something larger might be playing out behind the scenes. Something that goes far beyond interviews or rumors. This town hall felt like it had one clear goal: to go after Candace Owens in full force. From the way it was structured, to the tone of the questions, everything pointed toward trying to discredit her and reshape the story around Erika's version. And guess what? We're about to see the same thing play out again. It's the 14th right now, and tomorrow, the 15th, another round is coming. Monday's Turning Point livestream will follow the same pattern, and I can already tell you how it's going to go down. They'll try to make it sound convincing, like they're offering clarity or balance. But the whole setup is already predictable.